I was homeless at 25. Here's how I turned my life around in 1 year. My name is Jamie Carter, and tonight I'm writing this from the back seat of my 2008 Honda Civic, the same car I've slept in for 114 days. The rain hammers the roof like pennies tossed by a bored god, and my breath fogs the windshield in ragged bursts. I've just eaten my dinner. Half a bag of Skittles I found under the passenger seat. The sugar makes my teeth ache, but hunger is a blunt knife sawing at my ribs, and I'll take the pain over the emptiness. 3 things keep replaying in my head. 1. The voicemail from St. David's Hospital. Miss Carter, your mother's final expenses remain unpaid. 2. The eviction notice taped to my apartment door last July. 72 hours to vacate. And 3. The text from my older brother. You had one job, take care of Mom. Don't call us again. I press my forehead to the cold glass and watch a family load groceries into their minivan. The mom laughs as her toddler chases a runaway apple. My throat tightens. Mom used to laugh like that before the cancer ate her alive. Tip 1. Swallow your pride. Pride is a luxury you can't afford when you're homeless. I learned this the hard way on day 12. My hair reeked of gasoline from a mishap at the pump, and I had a Zoom interview for a receptionist job. I drove to 3 gas stations before I caved. Bathroom key? I asked the clerk at the 7-Eleven, avoiding eye contact. $5 deposit, he said, bored. My face burned. I don't have cash. He glanced at my greasy ponytail. There's a sink at the dog wash station, around back. I scrubbed my hair with Dawn dish soap behind the dumpster, tears mixing with the suds. Tip takeaway. Public shame is temporary, survival is permanent. Swallow your pride and ask for what you need. Truck stop showers cost $12, but dog wash sinks are free. The library became my sanctuary. Free Wi-Fi, bathrooms, and outlets to charge my dying phone. I'd claimed a corner desk by the genealogy section, stacking my life into 2 Walmart bags. A thrift store blazer for job interviews. A Ziploc of tampons and travel toothpaste. Mom's old locket. The last thing I hadn't pawned. That's where I met Luis, the 72-year-old security guard who'd later saved my life. You're here every day, huh? He said, eyeing my office. Just job hunting, I lied, clicking refresh on my email. He slid a granola bar across the desk. Breakfast? My stomach growled. No thanks. Kid, take it. You're skin and bones. Tip 2. Find your Luis. People like Luis exist in every library, laundromat, and 24-hour diner. They're the ones who notice you, not to pity you, but to quietly keep you alive. Tip takeaway. Accept help when offered. Later, I repaid Luis by teaching him to use Excel. Your survival tribe isn't built on charity, it's built on mutual need. I'd been safe for 3 weeks, parking behind a 24-hour gym. Then at 2 a.m., fists pounded my window. Get out, a man's slurred voice. This my spot. I froze. My keys were in the ignition. A mistake. The door jerked open. Cold air rushed in. Give me your wallet. He smelled like whiskey and rotting meat. I threw my purse at him and ran. He took everything. $43 cash, my phone charger, Mom's locket. Tip 3. Never keep all your eggs in one purse. After that night, I sewed a secret pocket into my bra for $20. A spare key. And a prepaid SIM card. Tip takeaway. Assume you'll be robbed. Hide backups, cash in your shoe. Documents in a cloud drive. Photos of IDs emailed to yourself. Scatter your lifelines. I was down to my last $1.89. shaking as I poured free ketchup packets into a stolen coffee cup, my version of tomato soup. That's when she appeared, an older woman in a purple trench coat. "Honey, you look like you could use this," she said, handing me a $20 gift card. "I can't," I started to say. "Take it, I was you once." She smiled. It gets better. Tip 4. Look for purple trench coats. Kindness wears disguises. Tip takeaway. When you're homeless, hope feels like a lie. Document every act of goodness, a free meal, a warm word in a notebook. Reread it when the darkness wins. Sunrise Women's Shelter. Luis drove me there after finding me crying in the library. "I can't," I whispered, clutching my Walmart bags. "Shelters are dangerous." "This one's different," he said. "They've got a social worker." A job program. The intake counselor, Maria, didn't ask for my story. She handed me a towel and said, "Shower first, talk later." Tip 5. 7-day sprints. Maria taught me to break goals into 7-day chunks. Days 1 through 7, get a P.O. box, library card, and burner phone. Days 8 through 14, apply to 10 jobs daily. Even McDonald's. Days 15 through 21, save $100. Tip takeaway. Survival is a marathon, but you run it in sprints. Focus only on the next 7 days. Today I have an apartment, a job at a nonprofit, and a keychain that says "Rise," a gift from Maria. But every morning I touch that keychain and whisper, "Not today. Not today, hunger, not today, shame." If you're reading this in your car, your phone glowing in the dark, hear me. Your "not today" starts now. Steal ketchup, accept the gift card, find your Luis. And when you're ready, come back here, hit subscribe, tell me your story, we rise together.
All right, so we're diving straight in today with a piece you sent to us, Jamie Carter's. I was homeless at 25. Here's how I turned my life around in 1 year.
Wow. Yeah. This one, it's a pretty intense personal story. And I think for this deep dive, we should really try to unpack what it was like for Jamie, navigating homelessness after a series of just devastating events.
For sure, and I think what makes it even more impactful is that it all happened within a single year.
Yeah, just a year to go from being homeless to getting back on her feet. It's it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it really is. And we're going to be focusing on her own perspective, right? Like directly from her words and reflections on this incredibly difficult period.
Right, using her own voice to guide us through it.
Exactly. So the goal here is to kind of extract those most impactful moments from her story, the turning points and lessons she learned along the way, and to really see if we can understand what it takes to overcome that kind of adversity.
And maybe even find some, valuable insights that resonate with us on a personal level, even if we haven't experienced homelessness ourselves.
Exactly, because even if our struggles aren't as extreme, there's always something we can learn from someone who has faced immense hardship.
Totally. So to get started, I think it's important to understand how Jamie ended up in such a precarious situation in the first place.
Yeah, because it wasn't just one thing that happened, right? It was like this perfect storm of terrible circumstances.
Yeah, a lot of things kind of hitting her all at once.
Yeah, so she starts by describing how she lost her job, and at the same time her mother was terminally ill.
Wow, so she's dealing with the emotional stress of her mom's illness, and then suddenly she's also facing financial instability.
Exactly, and on top of that, she didn't have any real family support to fall back on.
Like a safety net.
Right, her dad wasn't around, and she was estranged from her siblings.
So she was completely on her own, having to deal with everything by herself.
Alone, and having to handle the financial burden of her mother's care.
It's hard to even imagine the pressure she must have been under.
And all of this leads to the night of November 14th, 2022, where she finds herself living in her Honda Civic in a Walmart parking lot.
Here in Austin.
Right here in Austin, just 25 years old.
It's just heartbreaking to think about.
And the way she describes that night is so vivid.
Like you can really picture it.
Yeah, the rain pouring down her dinner, being a handful of Skittles.
And she mentions these 3 thoughts that just kept cycling through her head.
Oh yeah, I remember that. What were they again?
The hospital bill from her mother's care, the eviction notice from July, and that just awful text message from her brother basically cutting her off.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The one where he told her to.
Yeah, it was really harsh.
You can just feel the weight of all that on her shoulders.
Absolutely. It's a moment of complete and utter rock bottom.
And from that incredibly difficult place, she shares her first crucial piece of advice. Swallow your pride before it swallows you.
Such a powerful statement, and it really comes from a place of necessity.
Totally. She talks about trying to use the 7-Eleven bathroom to get ready for a Zoom interview, but she couldn't afford the $5 deposit.
Wow, and they directed her to the dog wash area instead.
Yeah, it's just dehumanizing, you know.
Yeah. It really makes you think about the kind of situations people in need are forced into.
And she talks about having to wash her hair with dish soap behind a dumpster.
It's a complete loss of dignity.
But her takeaway from that experience is so important. She says, public shame is temporary, but survival is permanent.
Prioritizing basic needs over pride.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that even if we're not facing homelessness, we can apply that principle to our own lives.
For sure. Like when we're facing any sort of challenge, we shouldn't let our ego prevent us from seeking help or doing what needs to be done.
Right, focusing on practical solutions.
It's about shifting your perspective.
And then from that really isolating experience, her story takes a bit of a turn when she finds a source of sanctuary at the public library.
Around December 1st.
Yeah, and it becomes this lifeline for her because it offers so many essential things that many of us take for granted.
Like free Wi-Fi, clean bathrooms, a place to charge her phone.
All those things that are crucial when you don't have a home.
And it's at the library where she meets Louis, the 72-year-old security guard.
Yeah, their first interaction is so simple and human. He just notices her and offers her a granola bar.
It makes you wonder what prompted him to do that.
I know, right? Was it empathy? Just a kind heart?
Maybe he saw a little bit of himself in her.
And this leads to her second piece of advice. Find your Louis.
I love that.
It's about those quiet helpers in our everyday lives. You know, the people who offer support without expecting anything in return.
The unsung heroes.
And she emphasizes that the support can be mutual. It's not just one-way charity.
Right. Later on, she talks about how she helped Louis with Excel.
Yeah, so it's about recognizing that we can all help each other in different ways.
Building those human connections.
Exactly, and those connections can be so crucial, especially during tough times.
But as we read on in Jamie's story, we see that her journey isn't without its setbacks.
Yeah, and some of them are really scary, like the night of January 9th under the Highway 183 underpass.
Oh man, that part was terrifying.
She had found what she thought was a safe place to park behind a 24-hour gym, and then in the middle of the night,
Someone starts banging on her car window.
yeah, demanding she get out, and she could smell alcohol on his breath.
So scary.
She panicked, and in that moment of fear, she made the mistake of leaving her keys in the ignition.
Oh no.
And the guy just yanks the door open and robs her.
He takes her cash, her phone charger, and worst of all, her mother's locket.
That locket was her only tangible connection to her mother. It must have been devastating to lose it.
Especially after everything else she had been through.
And from that experience comes her third piece of advice. Never keep all your eggs in one purse.
Which basically means...
Don't put all your faith in one thing or one person, because if you lose that thing, you lose everything.
Right, diversify your resources.
Exactly. And she talks about the steps she took after being robbed, like sewing a secret pocket into her clothes for cash and a spare key, and the importance of digital backups for documents and IDs.
So it's about taking practical steps to protect yourself and your belongings.
And it's about not letting one setback completely derail you.
But despite all these moments of hardship, there are also these glimmers of hope in Jamie's story.
Those little acts of kindness that keep her going.
Like the encounter at the Shell station on Burnett Road.
Oh, yeah, that was around January 12th, I think.
When she was at her lowest point trying to make tomato soup out of ketchup packets.
And then this woman in a purple trench coat comes up to her.
Offering her a $20 gift card.
Out of nowhere, just pure generosity.
And the woman says, I was you once it gets better.
That must have been so powerful for Jamie to hear.
It's a reminder that even when things seem hopeless, there's still good in the world.
And that leads to her fourth piece of advice.
Oh.
Look for purple trench coats.
Meaning?
Keep your eyes open for kindness, because it can come from unexpected places.
Don't give up hope.
And she encourages people to document those acts of goodness, no matter how small.
So you can look back on them when you're feeling down.
Exactly, like a little reminder that there are people who care.
And then comes a major turning point in Jamie's story, and it involves Louis again.
The security guard from the library.
He finds her in distress at the library and decides to take her to the Sunrise Women's Shelter.
That was around January 15th.
It shows how much trust had developed between them.
Because Jamie was initially hesitant about going to a shelter.
She had her own preconceived notions about them being dangerous.
But Lewis reassures her and tells her about the resources they offer, like access to a social worker and a job program.
And when she gets to the shelter, the intake counselor, Maria, offers her a shower before even asking her to tell her story.
Just that simple act of kindness must have made a huge difference.
It shows that they care about her as a person.
And Maria introduces the next crucial element in Jamie's journey structure and a path forward.
Right, she gives her what Jamie calls tip hashtag 7-day sprints.
It's about breaking down this overwhelming task of rebuilding her life into smaller, more manageable weekly goals.
So for the first week, her goals were to get a P.O. box, a library card, and a burner phone.
And then the second week was all about applying for jobs.
10 jobs every single day.
Wow, that's a lot.
And then the third week was focused on saving money.
$100.
Which might not seem like much, but it's a huge step.
It's all about taking things 1 week at a time.
Focusing on what you can control.
And this approach really works for Jamie. She eventually gets an apartment and finds a job at a nonprofit.
And she carries around this keychain that Maria gave her that says rise.
A reminder of how far she's come.
And her daily mantra is, not today.
A powerful statement of resilience.
Not today to hunger, not today to shame.
And she shares that message with the listeners, encouraging them to find their own not today.
To take those small steps even when it's hard.
Steal the ketchup, accept the gift card, find your Lewis.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Because there are people out there who want to help.
So Jamie's story is really about the power of the human spirit to overcome incredible adversity.
It shows that even in the darkest of times, there's always hope.
And that kindness and support can come from unexpected places.
And it makes you think, what could your purple trench coat moment be?
Or who is your Lewis?
Because even if we're not facing homelessness, we all have challenges in our lives.
And we can all learn from Jamie's experience.
Absolutely. Jamie encourages you to share your story, what resonates most with you from this deep dive into her incredible journey.
That's something worth thinking about.
For sure. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been a powerful one.
It really has.